If you want to skyrocket your personal growth and development and live at a higher level of consciousness and be able to experience a sense of inner strength and confidence like you never have before, then the one thing you must do that's most important than anything else is shadow work. Shadow work is the one thing that completely transformed my life. It propelled me onto the journey that I am on now, and it transformed me into someone who is so self-aware, someone who has self-mastery over myself, and doesn't live in fear or anxiety or depression. Welcome back to another video, guys. My name is Justin, and in this video, we're gonna be talking all about shadow work. So this is a video, if you are a beginner to shadow work, I'm gonna be talking about, first of all, what it is, why it's important, and how to do it. And I'm gonna provide you with 3 really effective techniques that I used in my past to heal myself and move along my personal growth journey. So make sure you stick with me to the very end because you're gonna wanna know how to apply these 3 techniques. And if you do, you're gonna see drastic change in your life. Okay, so let's get into the first part of the video, which is gonna be about what is shadow work. So let's start with what is the shadow. The shadow is a term that was coined by psychologist Carl Jung, and basically it refers to the parts of us, we can call it the parts of our personality, the parts of our identity, that we have either unconsciously or consciously rejected and suppressed. How I like to think about it is it's the parts of us that we really just dislike. It's the big dark thing that we're holding on to inside that we have chosen not to look at. And so in that case, what shadow work is, it's facing this part of us, facing our deepest pain, our internal wounds, and our biggest emotional pain. If we are able to face that, then it's going to be the hardest internal obstacle that we have had to face. And so this is a perfect segue into why it's important, because whether you like it or not, this deep, dark part of you is running your life. And so maybe we have chosen to turn a blind eye to it, or hide from it, or reject it, or escape from it. But that doesn't mean that it's still there, or that it's not still there. It is very much still there, and it's very much running the show from the shadows. So moving on to part 2 of the video of why it's important to do your shadow work is, well, I already said the first reason, because it's secretly running the show. And if you do not address it, then it's going to continue to run your life, and basically you're going to be a slave to these parts of you, whether you consciously know it or not. And let me show you how. So let's say that somewhere in your past or as a young child, you experienced some events that caused you to think you will have low self-worth or low self-confidence. So let's say this is part of your shadow. Now, if you do not address it, if you just hide from it, or anytime it tries to bubble up, you escape from it, what's going to happen is you're going to live your life in such a way that your whole life becomes you trying to escape things that agitate your pain. The way you choose your circle of friends, the way you choose your job, the way you choose the things that you do every single day, the way you present yourself is going to be to not agitate the pain of low self-worth that you're holding on to inside. So this is an example of how this will really run your life if it's not dealt with and not healed. And so if you do address this part of you that needs to be healed, your life stops becoming just one big way of accommodating your internal wounds, and instead you get to explore and expand through life from a place of joy and confidence and expansion. So this brings us to the second reason why it's so important to do your shadow work, is because quite literally your quality of life. If you do not do your shadow work, then your pain is going to be running your life. And besides all of the negative implications for your life, that also means you're just going to feel way worse than you would if you don't do the shadow work. In other words, you're going to be living with pain, and that sucks. That hurts. You're going to be living a life of fear and anxiety and hurt and just feeling wounded and you're going to keep shoving that wound down so as to not feel it, when it's going to just keep going deeper and deeper inside you. On the flip side, doing your shadow work means that you're going to feel lighter, you're going to feel freer, you're going to feel happier. Things that used to bother you are going to fall away because they don't agitate the pain that's inside you. You're going to feel more confident. You're going to feel more loving, more joyous, and you're going to really be able to expand into the type of person that you strive to be. Now, the next reason it's so important is because you're going to live at a higher level of consciousness. So again, expanding on my previous point, instead of your life being about accommodating your pain, you're going to have so much more energy to free up. And that energy goes towards expanding your awareness. It goes to being awake. I remember I can clearly define the parts of my life after I did my shadow work and before I did my shadow work, because I feel so much more awake and aware now. It was almost as if before I felt like a zombie going through life because I was a slave to my shadows. I was a slave to my wounds. So you really truly live in a more energetic, higher vibration level of consciousness. And the last reason why this is so important, and probably my favorite, is in doing this kind of work, you cultivate a sense of inner strength and a sense of self-confidence that you cannot cultivate or build any other way. So if you think about it, you are consciously choosing to face your most hurtful pain. And in just doing that process alone, you build a relationship with yourself, a foundation that's so strong that you're going to be a different person. Your strength, your internal strength is going to be so strong. And doing this work is your rite of passage into building that sense of security and confidence with a strong foundation. Now, hopefully I've persuaded you that doing your shadow work is a really good idea. But before I get into how to do the shadow work, I don't want to paint this image in your mind like this part of you is bad, because that's not the point. You are, as I'm going to get into, you are going to look at your shadow with love, because it's, if you want to think of it, it's like a wounded child. It's a part of you that you rejected into the darkness, and all it wants, all it craves is to come back into the light and come and be reintegrated with you and your love. So when I said all those things before, it's not that the shadow is bad. It's not bad at all. In fact, what you'll learn is that the shadow is a beautiful thing because it's going to be the catalyst for expanding into this higher level of consciousness. So without me rambling too much more, because I love this topic, let's get into how to do the shadow work and the 3 effective techniques that I recommend that I have personally done that changed my life. Okay, so before I talk about the specific techniques themselves, let's start with a foundation for the idea behind what you're doing so you can understand. So the intention behind shadow work is to bring your conscious awareness into a program that was once running unconsciously. Because we've chosen to reject it or hide it deep within us or suppress it, it has basically dissolved into the subconscious, into the shadows. So what we're doing is we're bringing our awareness, we're shedding our light on this darkness. And again, the darkness is not a bad thing. So remember, you're not judging anything that's down there, but you are going to look upon it with love, with compassion, and just like you're looking at a child that is lost, that is wounded, that needs your help, that's exactly how you're going to look at this part of you. And so there are 2 distinct parts to the shadow work. The first, as I just said, is shedding your light and awareness. It's actually doing the work to explore what's down there and look upon it with compassion. And if you want to think about going into a dark room with your flashlight, you are the flashlight. Your consciousness is the flashlight. You're shedding light and illuminating what's down there so you can bring it back up. And bringing it back up, that's the second part, or you can think about letting it go. That's the healing portion. You are letting go of everything that's stuck down there, that was secretly running the show, that was hurt. You're letting it go and you're letting it come back up into the light so you can reintegrate with it, learn from it, and ultimately be free of it. So there are 3 effective techniques that I recommend. You can do whatever one works best for you, or my biggest recommendation is to do the combination of the 3, because as you'll see, there are 3 very different techniques that you can do in different times depending on what you need. So the first one is journaling. What I'm going to do is give you 3 journal prompts or topics to get you started, but the idea is you just want to write whatever comes out. It's like a free write. So I'm going to give you a topic, and you're going to spend some time, as much time as you want, and you're going to let yourself guide you into the parts of you that need to be expressed, that need to come out. And it's so powerful because not only are you writing what needs to come out, but you're looking at it as well. So it's a very powerful technique. The first journal prompt is, what parts of me do I dislike? What parts of me do I dislike? So if you want to start with that, just whatever comes out, write whatever comes out, and do not suppress anything. I'm going to get into this in a second. You don't want to suppress any of the emotions that come up. The second prompt is, what emotional pain am I holding onto? What emotional pain am I holding onto? And the third journal prompt is, what parts of me am I hiding to myself and to the world? What parts of me am I hiding to myself and to the world? And again, the idea with these journal prompts are that they're a pathway to lead you exactly to where your pain is. And look at it without fear, without judgment, and just allow whatever comes up to come up, because that you have to do that. In other words, it's not going to work if you do not let whatever wants to come up to come up. Okay? So do as much of that as you want. Make it your own. Find different prompts that work for you, and do it at your own pace. Don't force anything if it's really uncomfortable. But make sure you do want to step out of your comfort zone. Okay, and this second technique is very powerful because how it works is I'm giving you a tool that you can keep in your back pocket for things as they arise in real time in your life. So in other words, the first journaling technique, you're going to carve some time out to do. This tool is what happens in real life, so you're equipped with a tool when you're emotionally triggered in the moment. Because again, events that trigger us are just triggering the pain that we're holding on to. And as I said before, if we don't address our shadows, then what happens is we change our life to accommodate our pain. And if we do that, then we're going to hide away, we're going to react, we're going to escape from anything that triggers us. So this next technique is going to take our triggers in the moment as they're happening, and we're going to do a very specific thing with it. But I do want to let you know I have created a very detailed, nice PDF version of what I'm going to talk about now. So if you want kind of like an electronic version of what I'm going to say to keep with you, you can download it for free. It's going to be in the description box below, or you should see maybe a box or a card up top. So that's really going to explain the same thing in detail, but it's going to be in PDF format in case that's something you prefer. Okay, so how it works is I already described the first part, is we're going to take our emotional trigger in the moment, and instead of reacting to it or escaping from it, which is probably what we used to do before, we're going to take it as a reminder to do our shadow work. So the first step, in other words, is use your emotional trigger as a reminder. Step number 2 in this technique is what I call watching the movie. So what that means is in the moment when you're being triggered, there's 3 things that's going to be happening. One is your physiology. So your body is going to react in a certain way. So maybe your chest feels tight, or you start feeling hot, or your palms feel sweaty. So that's your physiology. The next thing that's going to happen, and this is in any order, by the way, is your mind is going to start racing. So you're going to start noticing all these thoughts. How can she do this? How dare he did that to me? Why? I can't believe he did that. Or, just really negative thoughts. So there's going to be a thousand thoughts that are going to run through your mind as well. And the third thing that's going to happen is there's going to be a wave of emotions that's going to come through you. It's probably going to be something like anger or depression or insecurity or whatever you're holding on to inside that triggered within you. Now, the key is what we're going to do is observe the movie. So the movie is those three things I just mentioned. Instead of reacting to it or running away with it or escaping from it, we're going to sit there, we're going to take a deep breath, we're going to relax and observe everything that's coming up. And what's happening when we're simply observing instead of suppressing or reacting is we're not forcing the shadow down anymore. We're allowing it to come up naturally. When you let everything come up, when you let all the emotions come up, when you let the thoughts just run without changing them, when you allow your body to just do what the body is doing, what you're doing is you're releasing all that stored energy, you're releasing all that stored trauma, everything that was stored within you from the moment when the shadow was created is being released in that moment. And that's why this is so powerful. So I talked about the first two steps. The next step is simply to continue to watch and observe until it runs out of steam. So that means don't get in its way as much as you want to. Don't try and suppress it as much as you want to, but just watch it. Just continue to observe it. You just sit back and relax in the seat of the observer until it all has run out of steam. And the fourth step is you let it run out of steam and you let it go. So the fourth step is simply letting it go. Take a deep breath and letting it all go. Let it all dissipate. So this technique is a rinse and repeat technique. What that means is you continue to do it every time you're triggered. It's not a one and done, although doing this one time can really drastically release a lot of what's going on. But basically you keep on doing this until that same emotional charge is not there anymore. So in other words, if that same event were to happen to you again in the future after doing this work, it doesn't trigger you the same way that it would before. It doesn't arise those emotions anymore, and you can just sit there and almost laugh at it because it's not the same thing. Even though it's the same event, you have changed as a result. And this is where your true power comes from. This is why shadow work is so powerful and effective. Okay, and the third and last technique is the use of affirmation. And this is affirming to the world, to the universe, to yourself, what you want and what you're going to do and your intentionality behind this. And I'm going to give you a few affirmations that you can use in just a second, but I want you to understand sometimes affirmations do not work. Why they do not work is most likely because the person who's doing it, and this was me in the past as well, has not done their shadow work. And so what's happening is your conscious self is affirming something that it wants, but then it's going to just keep hitting your shadow. Your shadow's still there. I told you, even if you try and hide from it, it doesn't mean it's not there. It's still there running the show. So you try and affirm things, and it's going to just hit this wall of your shadow, and it's not really going to do anything. Now, when you couple affirmations with shadow work, the reason why that is so powerful is because the shadow is no longer there to block it, or it's more loose. So in other words, what was once happening was hitting the wall. What's happening now is you're affirming something as your conscious self, and your shadow is illuminated, so it's allowed to move through. So now there's not anything that's stopping your affirmation from energetically working or manifesting. Let me tell you 3 affirmations that I personally use that's really helped me. And again, build upon these, make them your own, or just create your own that really works well for you. The first affirmation is, I choose to lovingly shine my light upon my shadow. I choose to lovingly shine my light upon my shadow. And the next one is, with love and compassion, I choose to heal my emotional pain. With love and compassion, I choose to heal my emotional pain. And the next one is, my wounds need my attention, and it is safe to face them. My wounds need my attention, and it's safe to face them. And here's a bonus one, because I really like this analogy. My shadow is a wounded child that needs my love and attention. My shadow is a wounded child that needs my love and attention. My recommendation is to use the 3 of these techniques in combination, but you can pick and choose what works best for you. I wish you the best of luck on your shadow work journey and your path into higher consciousness and elevation, because that's what's waiting for you on the other side. If this video brought you any value, please support me and give it a like, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment or share this video with someone who you know wants to start their shadow work. Have a really good day.